Lorraine Bueta, Chairperson for the Standing Committee of Education. I want to ask everybody else to please introduce yourselves for the record of this meeting.
Good morning, Chairperson Kilian Bosman.
Good morning, Chairperson Khalil Barantes.
Good morning, Chairperson Khalid Sayed.
Just good morning, Chairperson and colleagues, Regan Allen.
Good morning, Chairperson and colleagues, Phil and Christians.
Thank you very much, everybody. And I also welcome Wasima Hassan Musa, our procedural officer, and thanks in advance for facilitating this meeting. I just want to check with you, Wasima, any apologies from members?
None received, Chair.
Thank you very much. Members, I'm going to ask you to please keep yourselves on mute. If you are to raise a point of order or you wish to give input to wherever we should be in regard to the agenda, please use the raise your hand function to indicate such. Thank you very much. And then, as you know, today's meeting is to adopt our reports that we have received and also to adopt draft minutes that we have received. Now, without any further ado, we have to get through quite a bit and we only have an hour to our disposal. I'm going to ask Wasima to flight the first report. Members, you have received the report, so I take it that you have worked through it. But I'm asking Wasima to flight it in case there is anything that you have missed and that you wish to talk to in regard to the content of this report. Thanks, Wasima. We have seen the first page. Then, members, it's the introduction as to what has transpired in the content of the annual report and our role in regard to tabling and interrogating this report. We can continue the next page. Then we have had the discussion on the key points spreading out of this report. Just go to the next page, page 4. the information that we have requested. And members, I hope that you stood still here just to obey yourselves and be sure that this is the information that we have requested. And if you have input or amendments on this, please indicate so now. Wasima does not seem so. We'll continue to the next page. Oh, that's the conclusion page. Just go back to the attendance page.
Chair, the report doesn't have the attendance. The minutes will reflect
The
it.
minutes will reflect that. Okay, all right. Members, if you are happy that this is what we have discussed in the meeting for the annual report, I wish to request now for a proposer and a seconder for us to adopt this draft minutes. Member Allen, I note you.
Thank you, Chair. I move that we adopt the report. Thank you.
Thank you. There is a proposer that we adopt. Can I have a seconder for that proposal? Member Bosman?
Chairperson, I second that.
Thank you very much. That report in discussing the annual report for the Department of Education is then duly adopted. Thank you. So that takes care of that report. Now the report on the Public Service Commissioner that we have had in front of the Standing Committee. Okay, members, this is the draft report with the meeting that we have had with the Public Service Commissioner. Thank you, Wasima. Page up. Okay, page 2, if that is page 1. Or that is just the cover page. This is the page 1 that we are seeing now on the screen. The introduction and the overview. Thank you. It doesn't seem there's any input. Then the next page. Thank you very much. Continue. Thank you very much. Continue. Thank you. Page 5. Then page 6. Page 7. Page 8. I know it was a lengthy report, but I trust that you have gone through it. On page 9. Thank you. Next page. Just on page 9, what is that, page 10? Just the WCED to make that D a capital. I think it's on page 10.
Sorry, Chair, which
I think it's on page 10. Just scroll
paragraph?
up. Just scroll up with
Is
page 10.
9?
No, page 10.
Okay.
All the others have the WCED in all capital letters. I think it's on page 10, just scroll up. There under 4.6.1.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Go to the next page. Thank you. And then that's the last page. Members, if you are happy with the content as reflected in this report, please may I request for a proposer and a seconder for us to adopt this draft report. Member Allen, thank you. I note you.
Thank you, Chairperson. I move that we adopt.
Thank you very much. Members, can I request for a seconder for that proposal? No seconder? Member Bosman?
I second the proposal, Chair.
Thank you very much, Members Bosman and Allen. And I wish to welcome Mr. Ben Daza. He has just joined us. So welcome to this meeting.
Thank you, Chair.
Our next report, that is the visits to Robertson and Worcester. That is the cover page, page 1. Members, and just make sure that you have that the your attendance has been recorded accordingly. Okay, may I go up to the next
Sorry,
slide?
Chair, they can
Yes.
just put an apology there for me. Apology there. I'm sure I made an apology there.
Okay.
Sure, Chair. I'll add it.
Wasima, please just amend.
Will do, Chair.
Thank you. Continue on the page. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Page 6. That is the last page. Members, with that amendment that we have just discussed in regard to the apology to be noted by Member Christians, can I have a proposer and a seconder? Member Allen, I note you.
Thank you, Chair. I move that we adopt.
Thank you very much. May I then also request a seconder for that proposed adoption of the draft report? Nada. Member Bosman.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. Members, may I ask you, now that we have adopted these reports, the reports will be sent to the department or our request in terms of information. May I request of you or of us to put a timeline to the information that we would want to receive after submitting these reports? Wasima, can you just guide us in regard to when do we submit these reports so that we can work from that date, a date for receiving the information that we have requested?
Well, in the one report of, sorry, Chair, I see Member Allen up. I'm not sure if he wants to go ahead before me.
I think that's a legacy hand. Member Allen? Indeed, it is.
Okay, thank you, Chair. The one report is the PAC has got 2 recommendations, which I have provided the hotline numbers to members. I can forward that again. And then the other recommendation as well. Those are the 2. And then the one for the annual report has a deadline of the 15th of January for those information to be sent to the committee.
Thank you very much. Then we will adhere to that date. Thank you very much, Wasima.
Pleasure, Chair.
Okay, thanks for that. We now go to the minutes of the 15th of June. Okay, members, here's the minutes of the 15th of June. And you will see the briefings by the department on that day. Please check your attendance or your absence from this meeting on the day. On that page, page 1, whether it is a true reflection, and then we go to page 2. And that is it for that minutes dated the 15th of June. May I request a proposer and a seconder to adopt the draft minutes, please? Member Bosman, thank you.
I propose to adopt, Chair.
Thank you. May I, Member Allen, then would second. Thank you
That
very
is
much.
correct.
Thank you. The minutes of the 22nd of June. Please check your attendance on the day or your absence of the day. That's page 1, page 2. Rather simple, the minutes. Members, may I request a proposer and a seconder?
Proposed, Chair, Christians.
Member Christians, thank you very much. A seconder?
Seconded, Chair.
Thank you very much. Member Allen? That takes care of that draft minutes dated the 22nd of June. We have draft minutes dated the 10th of August. Please check your attendance or your absence. That's page 1, page 2. Members also, rather simple, the minutes. May I request a proposer and a seconder?
Chair, are we just able to check the attendance again, please?
Okay, go back to page 1, please. There you go.
I move that we adopt.
Thank you very much. Member Allen, a seconder for that adoption.
I second that, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Member Bosman. Thanks, Wasima. We move on to the 24th of August. And on page 1, please ensure that your attendance or absence is duly recorded. Page 2. Thank you, members. May I request a proposer and a seconder to adopt the draft minutes?
Proposed, Chair.
Thank you very much, Member Christians. A seconder for that?
Seconded.
Thank you very much, Member Allen. That is duly, that draft minutes is duly adopted. Now we go to the last set of minutes, which is the 31st of August. And I once again ask you to ensure your attendance or absence is duly recorded on page 1. Thank you. Next page. That is it, members. May I request a proposer and a seconder?
Proposed, Chair.
Thank you very much, Member Christians. A seconder for Member Christians.
Seconded, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Member Allen. That then takes care of the reports and the minutes that we have had to adopt for this meeting. Members, I want to ask you any committee resolutions or recommendations or actions? Nada?
Chairperson.
Yes, Member Christian.
Just one question.
Yes.
I don't know. We've never. Can you remember we had a discussion about the Gravata High School that was now a special needs school, And I've asked specific questions on that. How far was it fully implemented? You know, those type of things, because I think you also know there's a lot of questions around that, and there was a lot of controversy, and of course it also end up in court. I don't know. I don't think we ever had a report on that. I've never seen it. Can I just check with the coordinator? Is there any progress on that report that I've asked? Thank you, Chair.
Wasima.
Hi, Chair. Through you. We haven't yet received any feedback, but I will put an urgency on it that we do receive it within the end of this week, so that member Christians and the rest of the members can have a full report on Graawater. It was the meeting of the Mossel Bay where that was discussing, and those minutes are also adopted, but I will ask him for urgency for those information to reach the committee by no later than the end of this week, as that that process is in place, and as and that should have answers to member Christian's questions in that meeting.
Okay, can we then ask in regard to time whether we would get a feedback on it by Friday the 3rd? Or is
Yes,
it too
Chair.
soon? Okay, all right.
I'll ask for that, as that was discussed already,
Yeah,
and they should have a feedback for us.
okay, all right. Member Christians, you happy with that response?
Thank you, Chair. Another one I just want to throw in. Chair, you remember at the annual reports I mentioned about, I spoke about the vaccinations of children at schools. I had a complaint I was at one school. The problem that I have in the HOD did said that no children will be vaccinated without the consent of the parent. But if you go to schools, there's still letters floating around. I heard now from another school that there's a heading there that you don't need the consent of your parent. So that is still an alarming factor. Of course, you know, we get phone calls in that regard, and I don't know, just maybe a directive must go out from the HOD to say, you know, that unless a directive comes from Provincial.
I just got the message now also.
So, Wasima, can we give an opportunity for member Christians to complete? Member Christians?
Yes, no, Chair. You know, so the directive from maybe from the HOD to say, you know, that line. There's a sentence in all the forms at different schools to say that you don't need the consent of the parent from age 12 to 17. And when I raised it at our annual reports, the HOD assured us that nothing will be done without the consent of the parent, because you also remember I said, you know, the department will be taken to court on that, where parents, their rights is just violated in that. So, Chair, I don't know, can we maybe just, because the HOD did put it, you know, verbally to us, but I mean, surely a circular should go to all the schools emphasizing that. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much for raising that. Wasima?
Chair, through you, would you like me to draft a letter on the behalf of the committee that you would sign to send with regards to this, regarding the circulars?
Between you and I was going to propose that and ask member Christians if that is in order for me to write a letter on behalf of the standing committee and then submit to the department. Member Christians?
Thank you, Chair. That's in order with me.
Okay, thank you. Then we shall do it that way. Okay, Member Bosman.
Chairperson, thank you. I just want some clarity. Is this in regards to vaccines being administered at schools? Because if I understand it correctly, there are no vaccines being administered at schools, and it's not schools that are saying that children 12-year-old to 17 don't need parental consent. It's the current regulations as outlined for vaccines. So it's not education department regulations.
But member Christians had a letter in front of him on the day that we have discussed the annual report, that it was a specific letter from a specific school to parents. And I think it is in that regard.
Thank you, Chair. If I can just answer that, you're right, Chair. If I can just answer that, the letter is on the school letterhead with that sentence in it. And it also it's also you know, during school hours where education have a right over that child. But you're right. I don't want to belabor the point, but the important thing is just it's on a school letterhead, and parents need to then, you know, to say you don't need the consent. I've saw it since Stephen's school. I saw it in the other schools that I've been at. It's on a school letterhead. It's not on a health letterhead or anything. Thank you, Chair.
Member Bosman?
Chairperson, no, it's fine. I don't think I understand enough to give valuable input, but as far as I understood it, it is currently not schools saying that that's...
Yeah, there is a regulation, and I know there's a regulation in terms of other vaccination or not vaccination. The there's another regulation I know in regard to learners that are due to take I think I'm not sure what it was in regard to womb cancer or something like that. There is that regulation also for learners to go through that procedure, that they don't necessarily need the consent of the parents. But I think that we ask the department. I don't think it's going to hurt us to get some more information from the department.
I agree, Chairperson, but I think we just need to be mindful of Section 129 of the Children's Act, which also regulates this, and it does say that 12-year-olds are able to give consent. But yeah. I agree. Let's get more information.
Yeah, and I think in the light of where we are in regard to COVID and the COVID vaccinations, not COVID necessarily, but COVID vaccinations in our communities, and the you know, the hesitation of communities to take the vaccine. Let's do it in that light. Member Brunkhuis.
Thank you very much, Chair. Okay, in terms of resolution, I want to make a recommendation that early next year we can have an update or a report on how far we are with regard to the international educational visit that we discussed in our last meeting. If we can have an update on that early next year.
Thank you very much. Maybe we should ask Wasima now, if you could give us an update where we are now, but also keeping in mind in regard to the new variant of COVID, whether we are going to be able to do or not to do. Wasima, Member Brunkhuis, if you could lower your hand.
Thank you, Chair. Through you. I have written to Ahmad Patience and requested of him through DIRCO which countries are open. Unfortunately, the first countries we looked at was Brazil and Colombia, and they are currently not open. And then I was given a brief to look at Tanzania and Zanzibar. Ahmad came back and said that Tanzania is open, and Kenya, the African countries, are open, but with, as you say, with the new variant, we're not sure on that, on how that is at the moment. So the best bet is to see what happens in the weeks to come, and before we close, I send Ahmad another email requesting from DIRCO what if those places are still open, and then submit the proposal based on that.
Okay. Thank you very much, members. In regard to that, Tanzania would include the mainland, Dar es Salaam, and it would include the island, which is Zanzibar, as indicated by Wasima. I know in this standing committee, there are 3 chairpersons. It's myself, members Bosman and Ellen. Now, I wanted to check with you. I know, Member Bosman, you as the chairperson for social development, we have an agreement in regard to education and social development that we would work much closer in regard to the 2 standing committees. Now, I have to take it to others, but my proposal would be that we discuss to have it as a cluster visit and not necessarily just as education, social development. And I think if we have it as a cluster, we sort of ons klap 2 vliee met 1 klap. And then also request of the WCPP from the Deputy Speaker's office or to the Deputy Speaker's office that we, 1, do it as a cluster, and 2, that we do it still during this financial year if we are permitted to travel. So I'm just sounding it out there to this committee. But sometime we have to speak to a broader group. But I just wanted to get your feel of what I'm saying. Okay, no response. Let's move on. Just this morning, we adopted in the programming, and those of you who were present in programming this morning, the 8th to the 11th of February is in the program as a cluster visit week. I'm just indicating that here. So it would not only just be us, but it would also include our other standing committees within our cluster. Now, I just want to check with this standing committee that we put a proposal forward that we would retain and maintain with the with our content or our proposal within the cluster visit week that we would have had some time ago. So I just wanted to check that we remain with the area where we were going to go and that we remain with the content that we were going to do. Member Bruncase?
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. Chair, in terms of going as a cluster, the educational visit, if that is not possible, could we ask Wasima if it is financially possible for the educational committee to go on its own? If the cluster, what do you call it, situation won't materialize.
Are you talking about a cluster visit week or are you talking about a study tour?
The study tour, yeah.
Okay, all right. We can talk to that, Wasima.
Sorry, just get the gist of that. That's the study tour that Member Bruncase wants to know if it's able to happen next year.
Yes. No, he wants to, and he wants to know if it doesn't materialize within the cluster, whether it could be just the standing committee. But remember, we have an agreement, a gentleman's agreement with social development that we will do it together. I see Mr. Daza has raised his hand.
Please, if possible.
Yes, I think from our side, I would like to agree with your initial proposal. I think it's easier to approve it. It would be easier for the institution to approve a cluster visit than a standing committee visit, considering the financial constraints. Because, as you rightfully said, you would achieve a lot with a cluster visit than just with a committee visit. I see them looking at more it favorable than because it can still be the same numbers because we share the same members, you know. So I think to me it would be much more easier to deal with a cluster visit than a standing committee visit. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Daza. I just want to ask then in that vein for the members on this standing committee, whether I could then from this conversation approach other chairpersons for us to discuss it and then get to a decision on this. Member Bosman?
Yes, Chairperson, I'm happy for you to approach the Chairperson of Health, Community Safety and Cultural Affairs and Sport. And I also agree that we keep the content and the location of the cluster visit the same as is, because it's already planned. We just need to action it. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. So we shall do so. Thank you, Member Bosman. And thank you very much, members, for your input around that. Then, if there is nothing more to say, then we will meet each other next week for the appropriation discussion with the department. And remember, members, it's also not very much time that we are going to have. I think we only have an hour assigned to us also for that. So I will ask you here to please then prep yourselves. And remember, we have spoken about how we approach this in regard to the annual report discussion that we have had, so that we sort of listen to one another and the kind of questions that we ask, that we don't repeat. And yeah, so that we don't repeat and we give each other a fair chance of posing the questions that we have prepped. But we will see each other then next week in the appropriations, adjustment appropriations standing committee meeting. Members, with that said, if there are nothing else more to discuss, I want to say thank you very much for availing yourselves to join me in the standing committee meeting. And thank you very much for your presence and your support. I now declare that the standing committee meeting on education is fulfilled, and I adjourn. Thank you, members. Go well.